overnight, a teenager killed execution style in southwest Philadelphia. Happened around 12:45 this morning at 61st and Buist Avenue. Police say the 17-year-old victim was leaving a Chinese takeout restaurant when he was ambushed by a gunman. Investigators say the victim died shortly after arriving at the hospital. The gunman remains at large.
Philadelphia police have found the burned out vehicle they believe belonged to an off-duty officer who was carjacked overnight. Steve, give me more details on this.
Well, they know it's his vehicle. This was a 2020 Toyota Highlander, and it was in the officer's possession as he arrived home from work. And if you don't know this, cops don't usually wear their uniforms to and from work or their complete uniform. That's why it's a lot fresher when you put it on. I do the same thing. So he is mostly out of uniform, and still we know that doesn't even deter anybody, as we saw another uniformed officer this week. But we're right on Delancey Street, and you see police blocking off both the 60th Street side and the 59th Street side, and even the street was closed all the way to 60th and Spruce. As soon as I got out over there at the first officers and the first fire department guys, I smelled gasoline in the air from a block away as I walked up to this, and it feels like I bathed in gasoline. That's how strong the odor is. So you don't need to be a fire marshal to know this was torched intentionally, and it's completely burned down. In fact, this thing was so intensely on fire, the sunroof appears to have popped off like a cork as it melted and landed about 25 feet away on the sidewalk that I'm standing on over there. And so what happened was this officer's carjacked at 2 a.m. by what appeared to be a young male in a hooded sweatshirt with a Glock. And the officer, as soon as he can, gets an opening. He has his officer's revolver with him, and he fires shots in self-defense. And he believes he clips the carjacker, who speeds away in the Toyota Highlander, and likely shot because as he's speeding away, he crashes into a red vehicle soon after the carjacking, leaves the scene of that crash. Then they don't know where the car is, but suddenly a 15-year-old shows up at Penn Presbyterian's emergency room, dropped off by a car that also speeds away like it's in a drag race after it drops off the 15-year-old, who always has an interesting story to tell how he was allegedly shot being held up or whatever. So the officer gets sent over there to ID that guy to see if he can definitely say, hey, there's the size, height, weight, and the eyes of the guy that put a gun in my face and took my Toyota Highlander. Then 4 hours after the carjacking, we get the call as the fire department comes here to a fire, and they realize it's a 2020 Toyota Highlander. The plate is torched, every seat is burned out, all the windows are melted, and that is what's left of a police officer's car, as they think they got the carjacker being held as a prisoner over at Penn Presby with a gunshot wound, likely from the officer who fired in self-defense. So that young man is lucky he's alive. And this, again, we started our day. This is our third gun violence story. We had a murder last night at the cookout. Then we had a 17-year-old killed not too far away from where we are here. We started at 61st and Buist with the shooting of a 17-year-old that sounds like a mob hit. And here we are with talking about another teenager shot because he was shot likely by a Philadelphia police officer who was held up for his Toyota Highlander after working a tough shift at 2 a.m. So there you go. The gun violence just doesn't let up as we go from story to story to story.
Breaking overnight, people enjoying a cookout in the city's Hunting Park neighborhood run for cover as 30 shots were fired. One person was killed and another was injured during the drive-by shooting. It all unfolded while a group of people were just outside watching the NBA Finals. Action News reporter Katie Catro is live at police headquarters with the details. Katie?
Yeah, and Matt, police say that one man is dead and another man is at a local hospital recovering from a gunshot wound after watching a basketball game outside during a cookout. I want to show you that video from last night. Police say that this all happened around 11:30 at 8th and Allegheny Avenue. Police say 2 men were shot. Police say the 48-year-old man died from multiple gunshot wounds. The 21-year-old is at a local hospital in stable condition. Police say a woman was working a hot dog vending cart at the cookout, and as she was starting to clean up, the shots rang out. Police say she is also the mother of that 21-year-old who was shot. Police say a gray Honda Accord with dark tinted windows was spotted at the scene. Police think multiple gunmen opened fire on the crowd from the car, including striking the hot dog cart multiple times.
So this was a drive-by shooting. from Glenwood onto Allegheny, and both sides, both the front and rear windows of a dark colored gray Honda Accord went down, and one, but it looks more likely like two gunmen opened fire on the crowd.
So between TV, thank you for watching.